Rodge here, back again for another Saga Thursday. And we're going to finish our look at the Normans Battleboard with Kevin Bruins, a player from the Midwest who is well versed in their tactics and strategy. And we are just going to jump right into the second half of this discussion.
And this plays in really nicely to the next ability, Storm Arrows. So this is an activation. It's an uncommon and a rare. Discard these dice to immediately activate all your units equipped with ranged weapons. They may only shoot with this activation. No unit gains fatigue for this activation.
Ooh, wow. Okay. So there's a couple nuances going on here. So again, it's all of your units, which is awesome, with ranged weapons. And then the no fatigue part is nice, because that means if you've already shot once with all your dudes, you can basically shoot them all again for no penalty.
Yeah, this one's pretty brilliant when you have a mass volley up and then you have enough uncommons to be able to activate your peasants, which requires the uncommon or the rare, and then you can do it again with the Storm of Arrows, so you can have 6 effective shooting activations without any fatigue. At 24 inches, that can really put a damper on someone.
Yeah. I mean, you can combine it with the aimed volley, too. Now, we're going to tactics a little bit later, but are there games where you just put everything into these shooting abilities and just kind of sit put? Because most of the time you're starting within or just over 12 inches away. So if you burn mass volley and then loaded up your peasant shots and storm of arrows, aim volley, you could just have a turn where you're shooting the piss out of everything. You're not moving, but you're shooting everything to hell. Do you end up doing that a lot, or is that like a turn one standard thing, or how does that go?
It usually is turn 1 and 2, because so much of the combat abilities take a lot of resources in terms of that. You kind of are doing either one or the other. There's not a ton where you're doing both things. You're either doing a lot of shooting, or you tend to be doing a lot of melee attacks and activations in that regard. So, playing the Norman, at least when I've seen when played, I think pretty effectively, they're usually doing one or the other in order to kind of maximize those dice.
Yeah, seems kind of thematic too. When you picture like a high medieval battle, you just picture archers just shooting the piss out of each other for like hours, and then these knights going in and wiping everything up. So it makes sense.
I mean, this mirrors the Battle of Hastings when there was crossbowmen and archers from the Normans just shooting the shit out of people, and then coming in with knights after the end.
Yeah, they're like, save up for a turn. They're like, all right, we're going to use our melee abilities. We're going in, no shooting this turn. We'll get them. Okay, well, we'll bring it back with another melee ability down here. Stamping, which looks like it uses 2 uncommons. Correct. Are those uncommons, those shields?
Shields with the commons.
Commons. I always confuse those with the knightly, the crescent and cross ones.
Oh,
where they flip-flop them.
Sure did.
They could have made them the same. They just chose not to. Anyways. Okay. Melee. Discard these dice if your engaged unit is mounted and is fighting a dismounted unit. Immediately eliminate 1 enemy warrior or 2 levies engaged in this melee. Yeah, don't know what to say about this one.
A lot of dice.
It's 2 common dice to kill 1 dude for sure, just dead for good. Have you used this one ever?
I've used it once or twice when it's getting towards the end game and I have like 1 or 2 warriors that are charging in, and I have more dice than I have comfort in my ability to roll dice.
That's a good point, yeah. When it's like 3 guys fighting 2 guys, or 4 guys fighting 1 guy. One thing is it's after the dice generating step, so like that guy he'll still get to attack as well. Well, he's still going to roll the attack dice for him, even though he's now dead. Okay, yeah, interesting late game potentially when you still have 6 units, but they're all really tiny, so you got a lot of dice. And yeah, I guess that does make sense, because even if you buff yourself, if you just have 2 attack dice, you can only max out at 4. So depending what abilities and dice you have available, it might make sense just to use this one.
This is one that, like, it particularly like Anglo-Danes have a lot of defensive abilities that make them hard to hit or to get through the armor. So if you just want to take a dude out, this is sometimes a useful kind of space if someone's...
Yeah, I could see that maybe. But it doesn't even... Like, it should start at a Hearthguard, and then two warriors, and then 4 levies. Now you're speaking my language. That would be a fun time, but... Okay. We won't stamp this one in the ground. Yeah, Pursuit.
So Pursuit is a melee. It requires a rare dice. If at the end of the melee, the enemy units are forced to disengage, immediately activate for a movement one of your mounted units engaged in this melee. This movement does not generate any fatigue.
Okay.
Catch him again. It's basically what it does. Or you do something else.
Okay. I just needed to percolate there. Needed to absorb it all. Okay, so you go in and basically... So would you be able to fight them again?
Yeah, because you activate them for a movement.
Oh, so it's like a double combat type situation. Okay, so there's... In the Viking board, there's a similar ability where you just fight on the spot, but this one is a little more flexible, where you can make that double fight if you want, or you could peel off. So would you say use it most often to go in for a second combat, or do some tricksy stuff?
Mostly it's the second combat. It's I want to make sure I can wipe out this unit. I like a big unit of Hearthguard. I know I can't take him out likely on the dice on the first round, but if I was able to get 2 in, that's usually a good use. I've used Pursuit pretty often, and even though it's a rare dice, it's one of the few abilities on the board that requires only 1 dice to use.
1 die. So that's fine. Yeah, so it is kind of offensive ability too, because you have to win the combat and force them to disengage. So if you are, you could use this during the enemy turn, but usually they're going to have their board stacked with abilities and they're going to be winning the combats. So you most likely wouldn't get to use it to do like a long disengagement. Do you ever use it to do some tricksy stuff? Is there a tricksy thing that you've ever used this one for?
You could use it to run in, engage, and then do a move without generating a second fatigue. That's positive. So if you wanted to go in, maybe try to take out a priest, but not be left alone, and then book it, you could use it in that kind of regard as well.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'm thinking about is a nice juicy way to use it would be, their Warlord is always standing next to Warriors or Hearthguard. You go in, engage those guys, force them to disengage, and then you can immediately go in against the Warlord, try to take him down without... You can kind of almost do the same thing with just a second activation. So kind of, you're just using a rare to save a fatigue generation, now that I kind of think about it. But, okay, not too bad. Yeah, it is one of the only 1-dicers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you pronounce this last one here, because I know you have some Norman blood in you, right, Kev? Is that
Dex I.
Dex I. Do you think that is that Latin maybe or something even weirder? I don't know.
Like Latin something.
Okay.
This is the big one.
Double rares, baby. This is it. Hit us, Kev.
Melee. Discard these dice, plural, because it's double rares. Your warlord gains 5 attack dice and may reroll any failed to hit attack die. However, at the end of the melee, add 3 fatigue to your warlord.
Whoa!
Yeah, this is not like Ragnarok in terms of its awesomeness. This is the ability I use the least, unless I'm playing the Warlord Challenge scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, Poppy's got to rest up after using this one here. Wow, 3 fatigues.
Huh?
Interesting. Okay, but on the plus side, 5 attack dice is good. So you're basically going 5 to 10, maxing out there. And then you get to reroll failed to hit rolls, which is always good. Yeah, I don't. If you went into if you save this one for the opponent's turn, I might be kind of reluctant to put my warlord in against you if you had something like this, because you know you're going to do a shitload of damage. But yeah, so you're telling me you're not using this one very often, is that what you're telling me?
Maybe it's because it's really hard to pull off. Require 2 rare dice to be able to use it. And it's a real high risk to failure kind of ratio. 3 fatigue is a lot of fatigue.
Yeah, it is kind of like the last turn fuck it maneuver.
Yeah, I mean, you'll end up having 4 because you've engaged in melee, so you'll exhaust yourself.
Ugh. Okay, yeah. Not so good. What were they thinking? Okay.
Horses are scary.
Okay. So let's maybe tie it all together. So going back to the troop selections, we talked about what you could take. So just based off the board here, it looks like if you're taking unmounted dudes, you're really shooting yourself in the foot as far as utilizing your abilities. So obviously you're going to take lots of mounted guys, mounted warlord, mounted Hearthguard. Do you have a preference between the Hearthguard and the warriors?
Not really. I switch back and forth. I think probably if you're going to take only 2 points of levy, 2 points of Hearthguard, and then 2 points of warriors, I think are what you want to do. If you're going to do 3 points of levy, then 2 points of warriors, and then a unit of Hearthguard is probably what I'd end up with.
Okay, a few more bodies. So that's interesting. Three units of levy. You don't see that a lot, even with my Anglo-Saxons, which kind of reward you for taking levy. I still only took 2. So what does that leave you for? I'm assuming you've done that a fair number of times, taken 3 levies.
Yeah, because I'll take the 3 levy, and then I'll split the 2 points of warriors into 4 different units. So they're really small units, but then that gives me a lot more Saga dice generation to kind of compensate for the levy shooting, because the levy aren't generating any dice. But then you have these kind of little bullets of units that can kind of just dart out, do some damage, and if they die, fine, because then there's also a unit that's fatigued and now can get shot up some more and that kind of space as well.
Okay, that's really interesting to me. So do you have a preference between the 2 units of levy and the 3?
I think 2. 3 gets harder to manage, but I think 2 and then 2 units of warriors and 2 units of Hearthguard, I think are the best place to go.
Yeah, I can see that. I think with 3, you're really banking on your shooting, doing some damage there, and basically if you don't get the kills that you need, you're kind of done, it would seem like, where At least with the 2 units, you have a few more bodies, and you can go in and kind of utilize these attack abilities a little bbit better, like the Crush and Terrified abilities, because, I don't know, it seems sometimes with shooting, they can just make a lot of block rolls, and it's all for naught. Okay, that is pretty cool. Do you feel that you're fairly successful with the Normans?
Once I stopped taking crossbowmen, yes.
Yeah.
The crossbows they don't have any ability on the board, besides Storm of Arrows. So they're not great.
Okay, so they kind of, you would think that they would kind of plug into the board strengths, but they really are just kind of their own little creatures outside of the battle board abilities, because none of the melee ones are going to work on them, because they're not mounted for the most part, and then they just have the 12-inch range, so you're not going to be, when you're standing back shooting, they will be picking their butts instead of doing anything else. So, okay, cool. I always ask Mikey this, how does this one stack up? We kind of already mentioned it for some of the newer boards. So, you saying this one's kind of looking a little dated?
This one's a little dated. I think if they were to update it, they probably would take away some of the fatigue things for both probably Charge and the Warlord's ability Dex A. And they probably would reduce some of the cost in terms of the dice. Because there's only 2 abilities that don't take more than 2 dice.
Yeah, one of them's a rare, so. Pursuit.
Rare, and the rest are combinations of 2, which is a little rough.
Yeah. I mean, you could seriously just drop the fatigue penalty for Charge and for that double rare one, Dex I, and the board, it would just basically play out the same. I think, wouldn't overpower it by any stretch. As far as like a homebrew kind of amendment goes. But yeah, that's a lot of double dice. On my Anglo-Saxon board, the double ones I almost never use, or I can only use one, I feel like, because it's so intensive. But, okay, cool. When was the last time that you ran your Normans? Do you still have all the models and everything?
The Normans are what I bring out for when people are learning Saga, because it's a nice one for them to play against.
Yeah, I remember my very first game of Saga I played with your Normans in lacrosse against, I don't remember who the hell I was playing. Ballard, maybe? I don't know. Or what faction we were playing against. But I remember using these shooting abilities and then killing a bunch of guys, and I was pretty happy about that. But then once I got into combat, none of my abilities seemed to do anything, so now I get it. Now I know why. Okay. Cool. Any closing thoughts here on the Normans?
I think visually they're one of the more interesting armies to play, because they have that kind of combination of shooting, infantry, foot, and then also cavalry. So they look really cool when people play them, but they are just a little bit dated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. They do look really cool on the board. Like at Saga Storm, that one dude had 5 units of 8 warriors, I think, of horsemen. So it was like 40, I guess 41 with the warlord. It looked really awesome when he was moving it. It took up a lot of real estate, kind of, which you don't really see. So even if you're just using some shooters and knight units, you do have you're taking up a lot of space, and you can move about the board quite quickly. I think you got a lot of good board control. But yeah, I'm looking at these abilities. These are all attack abilities. There's no
reaction,
defensive, no reaction, nothing that can futz with the other guy's board or his activations. Fairly straightforward. So yeah, I think you are right. This would be a great board for the newbies, kind of the way that the Viking board is great, that it's all just attack. and fighting. Don't have to think too hard about anything. But yeah, I could see where the versatility is lacking. But okay, cool. Well, thanks, Kev. That was awesome. We are going to do this again sometime, right? You have another horsey, shooty army. The Steppe Tribes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to have you on, and we'll chat Steppe Tribes at some point in the future. But until then, this Norman stuff, I'll just have to tide everybody over. Okay. All right, cool. Thanks, buddy.
All right, we'll see ya.
See ya.
Well, that wraps up our Norman Battleboard discussion. Big thanks to Kevy B and his big, powerful brain there helping us out. And if you have anything that you would like to add to the discussion, go ahead, post it below, or hit me up on Twitter. I'm at WiscoHorndog, or drop me an email, wiscohorndog@gmail.com. If you have any buddies who play Saga, please send them a link to this video if they're looking into the Normans, or they play Normans a lot. If they're having some trouble with them, you can probably glean some insights into their downfall based off our discussion here as well. So like and favorite this shit. Become a hobby horn dog today. Saga!